MMA Roadshow, episode number 481. My name is John Morgan, and cold coffee is with me in an absolutely scorching Las Vegas. Still, if you can believe it, under an excessive heat warning where it is 107 degrees today. It's going to be 108 on Friday, if you can believe that, cold coffee. 10 degrees above normal for this time of the year. Summer is here, and it ain't going anywhere, and yeah, it's hot.
It's hot. It's hot. It really is. I mean, like, even it's funny. The dog, when I let the dog out, the dog's like, "No, can I just pee inside?" like
you can't even get mad at him. You're like, bro, it's fine.
I get it.
You can do it. Go ahead, just pee on the floor, bro. I'll wipe it up.
I get it. Yeah, it's crazy. I still got my steps in this morning, but I think by the time I got out there, got back to the house by I want to say just before 8 o'clock, and it was already, I think, 90 degrees or something. And I was just like, it's getting warm
16
out there.
years, baby, but it's still a little hot in the summertime. There's no doubt about it. You know, we're basically like the Las Vegas Visitors Convention Bureau. Like, we want people to come here all the time, but it is toasty right now. So, yeah, stay cool, stay hydrated, my friends. Past weekend, off the top, I got to give an apology. To all my friends over at patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow. Did not get the half episode done. I got a little depressed. I got a little down, dude. I got a little sad. I got a little upset, to be honest with you. It's just what I figured out is when I'm working and doing commentary at a gig somewhere and it's like overlapping at the same time, like it's just impossible because it was literally on at the exact same time. I was doing Fight League Atlantic out in Halifax, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, actually. Chris Kalidas came out of the broadcast booth, got the win. It was a very hard-fought win, but he did fight to win in his retirement fight. And at 43 years old, I think when he was done, he said, "That is definitely it. I am not going back in there again. I'm glad I did this, but I'm not doing it again." But then when we got done, like it was literally the exact same time as the UFC fights. So then I was like, all right, well, I gotta watch the UFC. Start watching the UFC, and I think I messaged you. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning Atlantic time, and I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna be able to get this done. And then had to wake up, go to the airport. I was like, you know what? I'll get it done in the airport. Inevitably, same thing that happened last time, got delayed again. So I'm like, I'm gonna get this done in my layover. Get delayed, sitting on the plane, can't get it done. So. I don't know, man. I guess we got to get the staff together and have a big production meeting, brainstorming meeting, and figure out what we can do. Because obviously, everybody that supports us over at patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow, I want to deliver on the and-a-half episodes. But when I'm doing it again this weekend, I'm commentating again this weekend, and I'm doing Friday and Saturday night, and I've got like an early flight home Sunday. When I get home on Sunday, my wife and kid already have plans for me because it's Father's Day, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It sounds like a bunch of excuses. I don't want it to sound like a bunch of excuses.
Sounds like your vagina picked the phone back up and is tweeting again or texting.
But I got to figure it out. But the good news, what I was going to say is after this week, I don't have another show until July 26th.
Yeah, because it's never a problem when you're here in Vegas.
It's
never a problem. It's just on the road. And like I think everybody understands. In fact, I think I told you if I didn't, Fellows hit me up. He's like, "Yo, what's up with JM? What's going on?"
Oh, did he?
And I was just like, "Bro," I was like, and I explained the travel thing, and I think all of our listeners, I think everybody gets it, and understands. I'm fine. And I'm sure everybody else is fine. Even if we pivoted, like granted, this Sunday is kind of a fluke because of the Father's Day thing. But even like maybe on Monday or whatever. I mean, granted, this isn't going to be this. I know we say this card, every card is worth looking at, But I mean, I definitely think it's warranted. I mean, I think even if we just get it out, it's just I know your Mondays have been busy because you do that other podcast with that other guy.
Let's not make it awkward or anything. But yeah, I could do Mondays. This one's weird. We got to figure it out. Anyway, I want to know. What I want to say is I'm sorry to everybody. And I know it's not like an audience of millions was disappointed, but you know me, man. I like to deliver, right? I make a promise and I like to deliver. And I literally was like sad and like kind of a little depressed or whatever. I'm like, man, can I not do this anymore? Like, what's going on? And like literally was having like those kind of thoughts. And then I realized, John, realistic expectations. People are going to understand. Yeah. It's just when you're working and that's the thing is I could probably just cheat and like skim through all the stuff and make just some you know what I mean? But I actually want to watch the fights and I want to listen to the commentary and I want to make sure I'm giving my honest opinion. And it's just hard. So this week will probably not happen or Sunday. pause. We just
Yeah.
put a pause on everything for a
Yeah.
second. If we could, for one more week, let's put it on pause.
And I'm down. Like even if we, we talked about whatever things. I mean, if we could figure out some way to make it even easier, even if it's just I was thinking we could do something live after the fact, like early in the week or something, if it just makes it easy. But I know everybody likes the podcast format. And likes being in an audio format or something. But I think people understand. But yeah, I mean, if you got to take a pause, I mean, like, I think people understand it. And we'll just send them out some nudes or something to make up for it or something. Those long promised nudes that we've never got around to doing.
That's what I really make up for it. So I guess, long story short, let me just say I apologize to everybody. I will make this up to you. I assure you. And it weighed heavy on my shoulders. I do not take my responsibility to deliver to you guys lightly. So
it's a good problem to have. I mean, you're busier than ever, which is
crazy.
Cool.
It's crazy.
Which is good. But like you said, it's only a problem if you're on the road and those crazy, especially those international trips and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
Halifax was long enough that it wasn't bad, but like the Belgium trip was long and just going to the East Coast. But anyway, the time gets because it's late. Atlantic. They're actually 1 hour past Eastern time zone, so I'm trying to watch these fights. It's like 3 in the morning. I'm like, dude, I'm falling out. Like I have no energy left. Like there's no. I was in the prelims and I was like, I can't get through this card. Like once again, props to everybody over in Europe that's been finding a way to do this for the whole time because I was just my eyes were closed and I was like, bro, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this.
Dude, midnight hits on the clock. I'm just like, I'm either have already taken a nap on the couch and fallen asleep. Like when I'll sometimes wake up when I'm watching like TV. I'm like, I'll look at the clock and think it's like 3 in the morning and it's like literally midnight. I'm like, when did I fall asleep? So I get it. Like once the clock starts getting near that part, I'm out. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough to perform, and let alone think about and give like real sort of analytical thoughts on something, as opposed to just sounding like blah blah blah, or snoring, which is what I usually do at that time. But we'll get it figured out.
We'll figure it out. We'll definitely figure it out. Like I said, we'll call the staff together. We'll get everybody the
I'll
input.
Start drafting that email right now.
Yeah, if you could get that on a chain, that'd be nice. Send that around. BCC everybody. All right. Speaking of this past weekend, I did want to get your take because I know that you got to go see. I wanted to go see the Apex set up in a WWE NXT environment, but my flight got back too late to make it. You got to go see it. I saw everybody online, both some people that were in the building and also some people that were watching on TV. They were kind of like raving about the setup and they just loved what WWE did with it.
Apex fights would be so cool like this. Like these fucking people.
Okay, so talk to me about it. So, what did you think about the setup? And yeah, it was weird, right? Because remember when the Apex was built, we took the tour, right? And we remembered hearing that, hey, man, they think they can fit like 1,500 people in here or whatever. But as the thing got going with UFC fights, we started questioning, well, could you with the setup that you had, like, would you have room for everything? And so obviously, anyway, what was your experience with the WWE setup in person? And I guess, do you think it would be that easy for the UFC to go like, I mean, because here's it's not like the WWE came in and set that up and the UFC was like, damn, we never thought of that. You know what I mean? What? More seats? What a brilliant idea.
Why didn't we ever think about this?
So I guess what was your experience like overall seeing it and just the entertainment value of it? And then is it something that you think the UFC could port over, or do you see the reason they haven't yet?
I mean, one, it was really, really impressive sort of just seeing, the seats that high up, how it did sort of wrap around. But even when you watch the breakdown, speaking to like, hey, somebody had to have thought about this because they released the time-lapse video of them putting it together to see how the stage and the seating all fit together perfectly and then how they built it up. You could tell that somebody took the time and really had to plan out, like, how are we going to possibly set this stuff up? When you normally would walk and enter into that area where the octagon would be, once you walk through those drapes, it wasn't far before you actually started walking into the risers to start getting up, and go. So there wasn't much room outside of it. So, I mean, it's snug.
Really
it's very,
tight.
very snug. But, you've seen too, like where they have like the video screens that they already play, perfectly worked so that at the top of the seats, right there were those screens, so you could actually watch like the promo things, or you could actually see the layout of, whatever sort of, whether it was an NXT thing or whether it was the underground thing. They used the screens really nicely, so they didn't have to bring anything in to provide like what would normally be on screens, like in arenas and stuff. They filtered out
existing
perfectly.
stuff.
Existing stuff.
Yep.
But in terms of the floor space itself, one, the ring is smaller than what the octagon is, so you could
Right.
actually place it inside the octagon.
Yeah.
The octagon just has a bigger footprint on the outside. Where the boxing ring was, there's nothing on the outside of some stairs that will walk up to the corners on a couple of the spots where you
Whereas
see
the octagon has that huge platform ring around
that completely
it.
wraps around, and then there's steps that walk up onto the platform. There's only these steps on two particular sides, or maybe even just one side.
It did look
where
way
the
smaller, so
people
it felt
walked
significantly smaller as well.
The floor space was like non-existent. Like it was the
Interesting.
walkway and a small path around the ring, and then on the corner opposite of the walkway is where the talent desk was, where Booker, what's his name? Booker T was.
Five-time?
Yeah, and I don't know who the other guy was there with him. We're doing their commentary, and that was it.
Okay.
On a UFC event, you have all these chairs for the commission people. You have the media rows, which there's 2 rows, actually like 3 rows.
3 rows
now,
of media usually, yeah.
You know, and some of those are used by staffers, timekeepers, all that sort of stuff. But there were no, whereas if it's a
space
UFC
for the
thing,
corner to be.
you need space for the corners. You need photogs. You know, there was no cameras around that initial thing. There were camera people on the ground shooting. They had a crane that was shooting the camera up on the top, but nobody sits up on the corner, the turnbuckles or any of that sort of stuff. Whereas like in the octagon, you see him up sort of standing.
Oh, really?
These guys were all on the ground below shooting stuff, and it's all fucking script. It's a choreographed. All the guys are on headphones.
Yep.
Even the photog had like a headpiece on, so they can really know when things are going to come, when people are coming on. Even there were points because they were using UFC security on the outside, and a couple times people ran in, and like you see every wrestling thing, where like observers would come run in and then jump into the ring. I'm thinking like, luckily they told the UFC staffer so they didn't grab this dude trying to jump into the ring. So it was kind of fun watching that and just seeing, you know, and I'm sure the security got a kick out of that. And I was seeing those guys on top of some of them, they were just,
they were having
you could
a
tell they
blast.
were loving it. But in terms of like, I don't know what the occupancy is, but I've never seen a line as long. By the time I got there about 10 minutes before what was supposed to be start time, and I still was in a line that was wrapped all the way to the end of the building, and then it started slightly going around. I parked by where we used to have to park when there was a tent on the back side of the
far
Apex,
side of the Apex,
as far back as you can go. You know, like there was maybe just a few spots left. I was like, holy cow, like this is crazy. But it literally still took, and it was moving. There was moving, pause. It still took me 20-some minutes, maybe 20, 25 minutes to get inside the Apex, which sucked because it was kind of hot. So luckily it was like at 4:30, you know, by the time that this was happening. But they got in pretty decently. But it's hard for me to gauge how many people, in fact, were there. I'll have to ask like the PR team, see what they get. But it was a lot of people. They didn't look like they were crammed. Like even though there was sort of the seats were tiered, obviously. It felt like, you know, they were just like the small little chairs, but they were side to side. So, I mean, like you were close to people, but it didn't feel like people were swarming over everybody. They allowed people to bring in their signs. So some people had signs and stuff, but it was fun. I mean, it was interesting. It was cool to see high level fake wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing that really sort of was like the letdown was obviously seeing the people that most people on the MMA side were there to see, which is Shayna Baszler and Valerie Laredo.
Right. Lola Vice.
So Lola Vice. Rather than have them be an actual wrestling event,
I was disappointed to hear this.
Fake fight, like it was an underground fight. But it's like we're used to seeing them really fight, so to see them pull punches and to do all this like choreographed like whack fighting, it was just
kind of
like
weird.
But you know, we chatted about this a little bit earlier. What made it a little bit better is if it was in complete silence and we were watching this, I think everybody would have been like, this is ridiculous. What are we watching? But to kind of bolster it up a little bit, they had these maybe 20, 25 people came out and surrounded the ring, which they had stripped down to a different looking ring than when the normal NXT wrestling, they removed the ring ropes and stuff, and it was just the beams, and gave it this sort of like underground feel. They darkened the lights a little bit, but they were out and they were around the ring, and they're like beating on the ring and chanting and creating this sort of energy that as you're watching, you're like, okay, it kind of felt like you were more like
better.
watching like an underground one. But the whole time I'm watching, I was like, man, I'm interested to see how they're going to edit this and how they're going to make it look. And I was like, isn't this still sort of like streaming live? I was like, but wrestling has a good way of like doing lots of quick cuts between cameras in different particular angles to make it look a little bit more exciting than what it really is. Because when you're there, you're like, this is ridiculous.
As you said, choreographed, and they know what they're doing. They've got that production.
They knew who
down.
was going to win. They knew who was going to finish. Even when they ended it with Laredo, throwing these crazy strikes, and then the ref comes in and stops it, and then Shayna sort of comes to, and she's grabbing the ref's leg like she was knocked out.
Okay.
I was like,
kind of a little ode to some MMA there. We see that happen, right?
I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like, you got to actually make contact to fucking knock her out. But
you're supposed to just let yourself soak in the theater a little bit.
And that's it. You got to.
But I get what you're saying, though, right? Because we've seen them
yourself.
actually fight, so it would have been more fun to watch them, quote unquote, wrestle, right? Like do you know. But maybe it's just because Laredo's still kind of new. Maybe
it has to be, because when the very first wrestling match was this women's North American Championship or whatever, and they had 6 ladies go in there and wrestle, and these ladies fucking brought it. They were my favorite of the whole night. Like, some of the guys that were doing their matches was really intense. It was really cool to see. This one guy was like a fucking giant, man. He was like Francis Ngannou, like ×2. I think his name's like Obi something. Huge. He's a reigning champ. Oh my god, he's fucking frightening. And the dude's like 20-something years old or something. He's scary,
super athletic too.
Scary big, yeah. But these ladies, man, they started the event with them, and they were amazing. They had these ladders, and they were literally pushing each other on the ladders. At one point, they grabbed. The 4 of them picked up one of the ladies and threw her out of the ring onto one of the ladders, and it bent the ladder. I was like, this is fucking nuts. And then you see the crowd was actually, this is crazy. This is crazy. Like,
it's fun. You and I over the years have admitted we're not the biggest pro wrestling fans, but obviously, the times I've gotten to go because of Punk and watch, it's fun.
Seeing
it is
high
fun,
level,
man.
like high level ones. I mean, you can't discount the athleticism and the fact that most of them are really putting their bodies in harm's. Like, if they don't do these things right, somebody's going to get fucking killed. Somebody's going to really get hurt. Like, it was scary.
That time I went to AEW when like Jake Hager was in like that hardcore match, and they were slamming tables and jumping off a ladder, like stuff that you're like, okay, we understand this is all scripted, but like, there's no way that doesn't hurt. Like, you have to be in pain.
It's brutal. But yeah, these ladies brought it, man. So yeah, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna find her account. I'm gonna follow her on Instagram.
So all right, so
but it was fun.
What was your take? Because I think you already kind of laid out, like, because I did see a lot of like, why doesn't the UFC do this? But I think you're taking a very realistic expectation of, let's just talk logic here, logistics. The size doesn't work, that sort of thing. So what do you think? I mean, do you think after that event, do you think there's anything that the UFC can take from it?
They could probably go. They could go half that. Like, say if they decide to run the risers up 1 row, maybe even 3/4.
Yeah.
They need to have room for the things that are sort of out of the control. Like, we've all seen the UFC get, well, not others, but we've seen the UFC get upset with how the commission kind of strong handles, and they want to have their amount of people there.
Yeah.
You're never going to get rid of them. They have to be there.
Right.
And there's always like 10 too many there.
There may be some states along the way that have been like, we need 30 tickets.
Yeah.
And it's like, why?
It's ridiculous. So like, you're always going to have that element out there. So you have to provide seating for that. They're not going to sit up in the stands.
Right.
Like, that's not going to work.
Right.
Dana has his people. Could they sit elsewhere? Yes, of course they could. But could they scrap the media?
Because he's got his own VIP section.
Because he's got a section.
Yeah.
Could media be out of that room and in the media room? 100%.
They could.
There's no reason why media has to be out
100%.
there. So yes, they could take that away and maybe put some more seats. But in the current layout of what it showed that particular night, I don't see it being viable with some of the necessary things that the UFC has too. One, even just the way that the octagon, where the ring girls walk around, where the fighters walk up to, where the intros with that little thing, part of that stuff would take up even the floor space as well. So I mean, they're just the room. I think they could adjust it and have some sort of what they were doing there, but it just couldn't be that exact particular
Couldn't be
layout.
the exact
I
same
don't
thing.
think they could fully wrap it like they did.
Dumb question: were they doing like the VIP food and drinks and stuff like that?
There
Like
was
normal?
a VIP area,
Like the
but it
UFC?
was like it's in the was in the normal like where
The
like the
weigh-in
weigh-ins
areas.
there, the weigh-in areas and
I
stuff.
was just curious. I was just wondering how they were doing that. Like I wondered if it was like
But
all
there was also like the box you could like bought to get into the sky box or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
they call that little where that upper bar is or whatever.
I just wondered if it was all inclusive. I wondered too, like if the UFC, if part of their motivation is they only like having like the VIP ticket experience. You know what I mean? They don't want to put in more seats, but then they feel like they have to do it at a lower revenue. Although I don't know how that would impact them, but maybe some. You know how
Yep.
they like to do that, right? Where they position it as a premium product, and
Yeah.
so therefore there is more demand. You know, I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
I mean, they definitely had the tiers where I think there was the people that paid for the VIP, and then the as for the seats, I think there was the seats in the arena or whatever, and then the VIP was like an extra package that you could get onto it. And then I want to say like the skybox was an additional as
Yeah.
well or something like that. But they didn't really have they didn't. It wasn't like oh hey you just pay this exorbitant amount and then you just have access to everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Where we're only going to offer this one package, this
Yep.
one deal. You either have to be a friends and family and get tickets from the fighter, or you buy this exorbitant package or whatever.
Interesting. Interesting.
It was fun seeing that many people crammed in there. It was
It'll be
was
good.
crazy.
It'll be good to talk to Dana the first time we have access to him again, and see if there
Yeah.
was anything that he takes from it. Is there anything that they can change about the Apex? Although
I know I did not see him there.
I was gonna say I didn't hear that he made an appearance.
Yeah,
So I'm sure he
did
at
not
least
see him
saw
there.
everything and was aware of it. But
There was
it-
definitely some bigwigs from somebody. It was either WME or TKO because there were some people that were way overdressed for some professional wrestling.
Oh, yeah?
that were sitting down there. I was like, and it was like 100 degrees outside. I was like, yeah, this motherfucker ain't never had to sit out in the heat. I was like, who's this dude?
that's funny. He came in through the back. There's no
Yeah.
question. Although I guess right now. Dana White probably has more important things to be dealing with right
there something
now.
going on?
I'm trying to think. Is there a pay-per-view coming up?
Is there?
We got that big Hill versus Allberg fight
Oh, yeah,
coming
the Hill
up at
versus
the end of
Allberg.
the end of the month.
Oh yeah, I hope they're working on that artwork.
I mean, this is the crazy story, right? Look, just put it all out there. I think all of us, the media, are hearing the same thing, which is more speculation than anything else. I have yet to hear anybody that really has a firm handle on exactly what's going on. I mean, I think we kind of laid it out, and we won't necessarily get all back into it again. But you know, it seems very much to be either one of two things, which is contract discussions or injury. Conor McGregor goes to Instagram and posts a picture of him very clearly in a doctor's office, and it's like, well, that wasn't by accident, you know what I mean? And it's like, but then with him, he's so crafty and clever. You're like, well, is he posting that to show that, hey, man, he's an injury, but he's got a big smile on, so he's okay and he's cleared to go? Or is he like just posting it to make you think it's about an injury when really he's trying to hold up the UFC for money because he knows he's got all the power when it comes to this situation?
People didn't realize that was an OB/GYN office. The pelvic ones, that's because they're talking about how the baby comes out in between these sections. And he's just clowning people. He's like, oh, yeah, by the way, D's pregnant again.
We were just here for that visit. That's all we're here for, man.
He's
What
like,
are you
it's
talking
a
about?
checkout. It's just a follow-up.
It's the craziest thing ever. I will say this. Roku better still be following them around behind the scenes right now. I better find out that's.
But it ain't Roku. That's all. If you look at the very end, it's all UFC staffers.
UFC. I know. It's fight. It was produced
but they
by the
paid
UFC.
for it.
But
or whatever.
I'm hoping that cameras that we get the full story on this thing a year from now.
Yeah.
Because look, man, I'm not giving up total hope that it doesn't happen. I mean, I feel like Conor is the kind of guy that knows how big the market is, knows how big the opportunity is, would fight if he was a little bit hurt. I mean, we knew the broken leg, you know, we found out later he knew going into it, like, hey, this is a real possibility, and he's like, I'll fight anyway.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's the kind of guy that would show up, but I also feel like he's the kind of guy that knows what my market value is. You know, he's not just a businessman, he's a businessman, and he knows, you know, all the numbers. He has more access to the numbers, and man, you think about all the circles that he's been in and the things that he's been able to learn about business. You know, it wouldn't hold it up. You know, it wouldn't sort of shock me if he's like, I know what my market value is to you, and I'm not going out there for anything less.
I just feel like, why would we still be at that point now? Like, you figure contracts have to be signed at this point.
This is true.
You know, like you can't go off you can't just change a contract after. It's like you're breach of contract.
I agree.
You know, like I don't know. Maybe he was at the doctor getting another TRT shot or something. You know, like we don't know at this point. I still think
well, certainly the independent drug testing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the fully independent drug testing that is not paid by the UFC would clearly, you know,
I'm gonna stand by my guns that they're shooting on the straight and narrow, that they wouldn't cover things up, but it needs a layer of transparency for everybody to be comfortable with it. There's no question about it.
I mean, 100%. I mean, I'd like to say, like, give us when he last tested. Don't just have these numbers just sort of go. Like, I want to see when fighters are being tested so we know when the last test was.
Right.
These numbers just show up and we just say, oh, okay, well, obviously it shows that he's been tested 10 times this year. You know, cool. Was that all in January? Was that all in February?
Yeah.
Like, you know, when was the last negative test?
Was it the same sample you tested 10 times? Like,
yeah. Was
this
that
one's
the A
clean.
sample?
Keep going again. Keep going
I mean,
again.
at this point, until you hear something, it's fair game to speculate. You know, I think people are clearly speculating on the fact that, you know, it's either contract or it's an injury. Hey, let's throw in that he's still pissing hot. Let's throw a third. Let's start a trifecta. You know, I mean, who knows? I mean, but yeah, I would like definitely, you know, until we just hear like clear things, like maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's part of the dance is like, you know, we just want to have silence so that people get talking, because if they're talking about it, they're interested in the fight. They're interested in the fight. Maybe they felt like it wasn't getting the interest, so Connor's like, I'm gonna take it upon myself to create a little bit of drama. You know.
What's your gut tell you right now?
As for whether it happened or not?
Yeah.
Boy, I'm thinking no now.
Yeah, I am too.
It's just too
wishy-washy
for something so close.
Right.
It feels too wishy-washy. Boy, that'll really be a black mark on International Fight Week.
I know.
I mean, they were really, really selling that. That was the cornerstone of the International Fight Week. And when you start throwing last-minute fights, which, you know, look at 300, which was supposed to be the biggest, baddest thing, you know, and I'm like, but we're going to throw a last-minute fight as the main event. I just feel like it's set a bad
100%. And there's
omen
to me,
for the future.
Well, and to me, it's crazy, right? Because we talked about it last week. Like, the show's going to go on. We know there will be a pay-per-view. There's 100%. No way they scrapped a pay-per-view.
International Fight Week's
all going to happen. So all that's going to happen, right? And, you know, we joked about the fact that anytime Conor fights, it has title implications because he calls shots like no other, right? But realistically, this doesn't impact the rankings. It doesn't really, impact title shots, those sort of things. But is there a fight that you could put together right now? I mean, name it. I mean, there's no way this happens either, but would John Jones, Tom Aspinall be enough to get people to go, well?
It'd be enough, but Jones would never do it.
I don't know. Jones wouldn't do it. And they're not going to pull Aspinall from Manchester. You know what I mean? So is there any fight at all that you could put together? It's not one that
people are going to be excited about. Shevchenko Grasso is the only thing I can think of that they could throw it.
Well, okay. There's fights
because
you can
the
put together.
Because the Sphere isn't good. It might not even be Noche, even though people say it's going to be Noche. What if it isn't?
It has to be.
You would hope.
It has to be.
Because that's the whole point of what they're talking about that weekend.
That would be.
But you never.
That would be a huge swing and a miss.
But think about if they have to save this card, and you have to what other title fights are available.
But there's
right now?
no. I mean, that doesn't even come close. I mean, the only names that are in the sphere of Conor McGregor in the sphere. Don't mean in the
Izzy?
Circular influence. Izzy, Sean. Sean's not going to step in on a couple weeks' notice.
Yeah, it's way too quick.
You know what I mean? That's it, right? Those are the only.
Yeah.
Alex seems to be getting more like that. Is he?
He would jump in and take it. Who's the right dance partner?
What about John Jones and Alex Bejeda?
Jones, I bet, would do that.
That would be sick. That would save it.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, we're talking about crazy stuff now.
And John doesn't have to put his belt up for it.
Oh, he has to. Has to. It's for the heavyweight title.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, come on.
Then
he's not doing it.
He's not doing it. I don't think he'd put it up.
How about if it's for the double interim title? Bro, you're still undisputed champion, and we don't want to take away the interim title from over here, so it is the interim title at heavyweight. Okay, now that's fantasy matchmaking, but that would lessen the blow, right?
100%.
That would lessen the blow.
I mean, whatever people want to say about John sitting out and waiting for this, people absolutely love Jones fight weeks. They
100%.
will literally shit on him sitting out of it, and then as soon as he fights the next week, it's back to loving him. Because once he's there, it's hard not to love what he does and what he brings to the sport and how exciting his fights are. People will take it.
100%.
Like, people will take it. People just want to see him fight. It's the same thing with Conor. Whether it's for a belt or not, people just want to see the people that they respect in the sport and that have done shit that they're just like, I want to see this person fight before they're done fighting. You throw John Jones in there against option A, B, C, whether it's for a belt or not, people are going to clamor to see it because they realize that there is going to be a day, especially when we've seen years go by where we haven't seen him fight. People realize that you can't take it for granted that we're going to see these people in the cage. So, do I think it could be possible? Sure, but John is so adamantly Stipe or nothing right now that it would be hypocritical for him to accept anything besides the Aspinall fight, which is the only one that makes sense. For him to go and do something else, like, okay, you're ready to take a short notice fight to do this, dude, but you won't unify the belt. That don't make any damn sense.
How could you do that?
That don't make any damn sense. That then people would say, okay, now you
obviously don't want to fight the light heavyweight.
Yeah,
you want to fight the light heavyweight that doesn't have grappling. That isn't a grappler. You want to fight the light heevyweight striker, but you wouldn't fight him.
People would shit on it.
Yeah,
people would shit on him.
But it's crazy because, again, I was just trying to think of the craziest fight I could that would because. Again, Conor Chandler is a crazy fight, right? It's not necessarily a title fight, and I just don't think there's any title fights right now that replace Conor. What's weird to me is I think if I could pick, if John would step in there, and let's say, hey, John, you're the contest winner, you get to pick the matchup for this, and I could pick either Pereira or Aspinall, I think I'd pick Pereira just because of the chaos and craziness of it.
And see someone just get slept.
Just see something weird,
dude. It'd be interesting. What if we can get like Chael versus somebody or something? Chael versus Anderson.
Chael versus Anderson.
Run it back.
Bring it back.
Let's go.
Oh my goodness. Are you intrigued by Chael versus Anderson in boxing? By the way, is this doing anything for you?
I don't dislike it.
Just like fun, right? Like I don't
fun.
Like I don't really care. Like I'm down to watch it. I know
what we're gonna get from Anderson's side. I just want to see how much Chael's actually really been working on it. I know Anderson. We've seen him fight.
Yep.
We've seen the work that he does, and I assume he's just gonna go in there and fucking piece him up.
This seems like even less competitive than an MMA fight would be.
Much less.
Right?
I just feel like Chael at some point is just going to do like the fucking Dylan Dennis thing where he's going to be trying to do some takedowns because he's getting work.
I love his promotion for it, right? It's like putting the rocks in the gloves and saying he's going to cheat.
Brilliant. And they knocked the thing down. It was perfect.
I love it.
That's Chael. That's what you get from Chael, but when the fight starts, it's a whole different game. Like nobody's going to sell the fight.
He literally
can't
can't win this fight, right? He literally can't.
Unless Anderson just hasn't done, unless Anderson has decided like I'm not going to prepare for this. I'm done training. I'm just like I don't need to train for him, and then goes in there and gets slept. I just don't see it happening. But I'm intrigued because I respect and I like both the guys.
Oh, it's two guys, two beloved figures in the sport. If they go out there and have some fun.
Like, you're going to go out and actually throw gloves at each other and try to hurt. I'm like, fuck, I'm there for it.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Like, I'm down for the entertainment side of it, but I'm not like, what the results of this fight are incredibly imperative to me.
Yeah,
how does
Tank is
out?
fighting this weekend. Like, if it was competing against like Tank's fight or like a Canelo fight, like if you're a boxing fan, do not watch this fight thinking like you're going to see the high-level boxing that would see if you watch like real boxers go in there and do it. But for us MMA folks, I think it's brilliant. I think it's awesome. They're both going to get some paychecks, and they're going to go out there and hopefully have some good fights. Shit, we watched fucking Tito and fucking Chuck Liddell. Like, bro, this is a big step up from that. Like, this is leaps and bounds above that, So
dude, why'd you have to bring that up? That was the one where I don't know if I've ever felt worse in my life than watching something.
It was bad. I remember just covering that fight week, going to like the open workouts and stuff, and just thinking like, oh my god, somebody's gonna die. Like somebody's literally gonna die in this fight.
Yeah, I think I don't know how serious to take what they're going to do, but I think, look, it's two guys that I love. I was honored to cover their career. Obviously, with Chael, we still interact with quite a bit because he's around Bellator and PFL events. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun, and I think that's the whole point of it. Like if they're willing to go out there, you're going to see them. I don't think either one of them is going to not try. Like, right. I just think that the skill difference that we've seen recently puts one above the other, but Chael's going to go out there. Hell,
the speed and movement of Anderson without having to worry about getting taken down.
yeah,
Come on.
it's pretty ridiculous.
Even at this age.
It's pretty ridiculous. I just, if Chael, we know what Chael has a very busy schedule, and Chael's very occupied in all these other things going. You just wonder how much time he's really been able to focus on training for this boxing.
Now, he doesn't drink, he doesn't party, so that's a good thing. Like,
well, that's good.
So he's in good shape, but you're right.
But he's just in good shape, but it doesn't mean he's been training like for a real legit boxing match,
agreed. But, there's some guys you're like, I don't even know if, you'd worry about him getting in there. I'm not worried about him getting in there. But just,
not at all. Just... It's going to be fun. I mean, it's going to be fun. But, again, it's because it's two beloved fighters that I think people are just happy to see them still competing, because at some point, just like when I was joking about Jones, at some point, even these fun little fights are going to be done. Like, this might be the last time you ever see him go into a cage, or a ring to do anything. So, if they're willing to put themselves on the line, I'm willing to put my eyeballs in front of the screen and watch it.
I like it. I like what you're saying. It's you soak it in, right? You're only going to see those guys are a part of history, man.
100%.
They are a huge part of history, both for their time together and their time separate. You know what I mean? They're parts of history in multiple ways. So yeah, I agree with you. If you get a chance to enjoy it. Well, how about in terms of crazy matchups? What about Mike Perry, Jake Paul? Does that one intrigue you?
I'm here for anything Perry wants to do. I mean, Jake has even won me over. Like, I respect the guy's hustle. I respect what he's been able to do. I respect, obviously, his empire that he's built up. And the kid's been doing the work, man. Like, if people want to shit on him and say he hasn't done the work or that he's not like a legit boxer, I think there's a difference when people say, like, whether you want to say he's a legit boxer, whether you want to say he's a high-level boxer, could be two different things. But the kid has done the work. I consider him a legit boxer. That's all the kid is focused on for, like, the past 3, 4, 5 years. Like, what threshold needs to be met for you to consider somebody a legit boxer?
I agree.
All the time and money that he's put into it, and we've seen him go out there and fight. We've seen him do stuff. The kid can box, man. So
still not like, when he says, like, I'll beat Canelo. I'm like, come on, bro, calm down. No, you won't. But he's a legit boxer. Do I think he's a world champion boxer? Yeah, of course. We talk about that too, right? Like, you need to be a little bit, like, not realistic with yourself when you get in there in combat sports. But to say he's not a legitimate boxer, I think you're spot on. Like, do I think he's a world champion boxer? I do not.
Right.
Do I think he's a legitimate boxer? Yes, he is.
100%.
He's putting in the work and he's doing it.
And fucking Perry, man. Like, who doesn't love Mike Perry? I mean, like, I've loved him in his MMA days. I love what he's done in bare knuckle. I mean, and now you're going to put some gloves on him so he can maybe take some more damage. I mean, the kid's
probably
fun.
too small. He's probably too small.
He's too small.
But he's going to make it a fight.
He's going to make it a fight. He's going to get slept, but he's going to make it a fight.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I mean,
that's what I think too, right? It's another perfect pick from Jake Paul.
It's great.
Another perfect pick.
Mike, like, he understands that he could take a punch, and so he leaves his chin out there. I mean, he's up there because he's willing to stand in the middle and throw. But he's going against a bigger dude with a bigger reach who's going to come and just bring that shit. We've seen that fucking hook knock dudes out.
Yeah,
so,
man.
like, Perry can take some of those, but, I mean, at some point it's gonna wilt him, It's just the size difference is just too big, and he's taking a lot of damage. The kid's been fighting a lot for a long time, So, I mean, good on him if, it could be a big paycheck. But, I mean, I would lean Paul on that one all day long.
Me too. But I like Perry to get the paycheck, though.
Yeah.
Did you keep watching Ultimate Fighter? Have you seen Tough to...
I did not. I forgot to watch the episode yesterday, so I need to catch
Episode
up on
2,
it.
definitely worth watching. Robert Valentin is an absolute savage. The guy that wins is a slight psychopath. It's talking about sacrificing blood for the gods and, Valhalla and Odin and all that stuff.
Kind of guy that probably waterboards himself as a hobby, as for fun.
Nobody would do that, would they?
One of those type guys.
I just had to know what waterboarding was like. Was that the tweet that he sent out?
Along those lines. I was like, bro, fucking find a non-death hobby. Like, what is wrong? Makes me feel like when I'm like, every time I go upstairs to try to, like, play the bass or try to play music, I realize I could just go downstairs and waterboard myself.
I wonder if Morgan will come over and waterboard me for
tie my hands up so I really can't fight against this. I want the real experience, and then let's just waterboard for fun. I mean, I guess if it's one of those questions, those nagging questions, like you wonder, it's funny because he actually brought one of his responses was like, you think you can just, like, take slow breath and breathe in or whatever, and those are thoughts I've actually had before, like, I bet you could kind of fake it a little bit. He's like, no, you can't. You literally feel like you're drowning. So I'm like, all right, cool. Now I have an answer from a person I trust. I don't need to do that myself.
I know he'll shoot straight with me.
He'll shoot it straight.
Yeah.
He's not going to sugarcoat it. So, you know what? I have no need now to waterboard myself.
Oh, my gosh.
But, yeah, that dude, he's crazy.
Sean Strickland is crazy. There's
Yeah.
no question about it. So, anyway, Ultimate Fighter, it was a good episode. If you're not a big tough watcher, I don't know. I thought it was a good episode. I showed a lot of the training. Showed a lot of Valentina's training, which I like a lot.
Yeah.
I like seeing. I was thinking about that as I was watching the episode, right? Like, I'm sure the producers. I mean, I'm sure we're the minority that we want to watch the train. Like, I want to watch the training and the coaching. You know what I mean? But I'm sure most people just want to watch like drama. Right? And
but if there's no drama,
which I mean, I think at this point there's less and less drama because these people understand what the opportunity is that's in front of them, right? So they don't want to have drama.
You're not gonna have that just let me bang, bro moments in the shit in the house where people are just going fucking crazy.
You can't knock me out. You cannot
throwing
shot.
shit into the pool and doing all the other kind of shit. Like I think those days are gone.
I agree. I don't think you're gonna see much. Of that
and
anymore.
I mean, and I'm fine with that. Like it was jarring and shocking at one point. Now, even if you did it, it would feel forced, and it would just be like, oh. You're going back to that? You're going back to that well? Like, bro, how about just give a crazy fight instead?
Yeah.
You know, or something.
100%. Yeah, it would feel like forced, right?
It would feel forced because we've already seen it, like, how many times? And it's just like, and who knows? Because if you do it wrong and it doesn't come across, then it feels really forced. Then you're just like, all right, now you're just a cheese ball.
Yep.
Like, I don't care to even watch your fight at this point. Or I'm going to watch just to root your opponent, whip your ass or something, what I think now is it just, especially with like these coaches, I think I love the mindset that we've seen so far from these fighters, that they're taking 100% serious. They're appreciating the training, and they're just treating it like this is my job opportunity. Like I have a job application in front of me that I'm working through, and if I do it right, I have a chance of getting to my dream job. So. Why fuck it up by something juvenile?
100%. No, it was good. It was, this spent a lot of time focusing on Valentina training again.
Training out in the desert,
Training out in the desert.
Yeah.
The funniest part, and her team, it was really cool. Her team was like really reacting well to it. They're like, man, we love this. And you could see that, like, we always knew she was like a driven psychopath. You know what I mean? Like and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean in a good way. You know what I mean? Like she's just as dedicated
like a drill
as
sergeant, very military type. 100%. I think one of the guys quoted that. I saw that in one of the highlights.
Yeah, she's always been that way, right? And you're getting to really see it. But it's funny because they take him out in the desert, and they even say like, we're not going hard. We just want to breathe the fresh air, and just connect with the energy and stuff. They're like. They picked up – she had them pick up rocks to use as, like, weights so they could shadow box with weights. But it's so funny because she's like, go ahead and grab some rocks here. She's like, just be careful with, like, spiders and scorpions and stuff. It's so funny, dude.
Like, you might turn a rock and there's something living under there.
And it's true, right?
Yeah.
Because here in the desert, right, they're hiding from the heat. They get underneath that stuff. And I was like – that's so true. Like, you could very easily pick up a rock off the ground here in Vegas when you're out in the desert like that, and there's something on the other side of it you didn't want.
Good on her for letting them know,
Just let you know.
She's like, hey, just pick up a rock. I'm sure I'll be fine. Like, maybe I'll actually tell them to watch where they're grabbing. But no, I did appreciate that, and I saw the clip about her training with the guys and them giving her a lot of respect of, like, not, going with the big guys and going hard,
Yep.
I'm like, that's I think what we would expect
100%.
from Valentina, 100%. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'll have to go through. Maybe tonight I'll pop it on there. And it just slipped on me because I got the email with the screener on Monday, and then I just spaced out on it, and then I meant to watch it yesterday, and then the next thing I know, it was like 7:30, and the clips are already started on Twitter, and I was like, oh, I missed it, and I was like, so I just shut it off, and I didn't really pay attention.
There you go. It's a good episode. The fight is quick. But it's a really good knockout, and I thought it was just a fun episode. So a little bit of programming note, PFL does return. This is a PFL that you can watch, by the way, so that's all important to point that out. I mean, I hate to be mean to them because I like my friends at the PFL, but they got to get this global situation fixed where we can watch it. But it will be on ESPN and ESPN+. Main event, of course, Valentin Moldavsky, Linton Vassell. Got some history between those two that they're going to play out. Dakota Ditcheva is back against Chelsea Hackett. Obviously, Dakota is kind of the star in the making that they've got her tagged there.
Yep.
Liz Carnouche is back as well. So, I mean, there's a couple of big names on the card, and it should be fun. So put that on your programming notes for tomorrow night.
Who are you taking in that main event?
I think Moldavsky.
Yeah, that's where I went.
Yeah.
Even though Vassell, his last one, I think I picked against him, and he ended up winning in that fight against It was against Moldavsky.
Yep.
So this is a rematch.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, who was the one that I didn't think he was going, and it was this one.
Yeah, it's a trilogy.
Yeah.
They're 1-1. They're 1-1. They're 1-1.
Interesting.
I think
Yeah, I immediately picked Moldavsky, knowing he was a badass, but I forgot that he already lost to him.
Yeah, they've got some history.
Yeah.
They got some history between themselves.
Interesting.
Moldavsky,
yeah, this is going to be the rubber match right here.
Oh my God, I pulled up the odds just to check it out. Moldavsky minus 325. So it seems like the odds makers are
crazy. That's
seems
a
like
big
the
one.
yeah. I'm looking at DraftKings, but I'm actually on Best Fight Odds. That's where I always go to see. But I'm just looking at the first column, which is DraftKings. Dakota Ditcheva minus 1,800.
Wow, that's got to be one of the biggest.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest lines you'll ever see.
I mean, she brings the fight.
She's good.
She's
really
attractive.
good.
I mean, like they are literally hoping she becomes a superstar for him.
Absolutely.
You know. And
she's on the fast track. Oh, but there's a big one over at UFC. So UFC, obviously the UFC is this weekend as well. That is on Saturday. UFC on ESPN 58, Perez versus Tyra. Normally we would be sitting down and talking about Media Day, but a little curveball, right? Media Day is tomorrow. And we think we think it's because they're doing Contenders series stuff, right?
And it was like, because I know even yesterday when I was reaching out to one of the photogs, they said they were swamped, like shooting Contender stuff. And I think that's kind of what I was hearing. It was either Contender series or something along those lines that they were shooting, that they had to push it because they would be shooting all around the Apex or whatever.
Right, so they're getting all that stuff done because Contender series is about to start back up, man. I love Tuesday nights.
Oh, dude. I mean, it's as much as doing 2 different events in a week is crazy. It's such a fun little lift.
But you know what? And I think this season is going to be the best one we've had in a couple years because the UFC is traveling more than they have been, right? Like, because before, when it was strictly the Apex, you're right. We were doing like Monday weigh-ins Apex, Tuesday fights Apex, Wednesday media day Apex, Friday weigh-ins Apex, Saturday fights Apex, and it was a lot, right?
Yeah.
At least now, you can go do your Monday weigh-ins, do your Tuesday fights, and then maybe the UFC event is actually somewhere else. You know what I mean? So you're not having to do everything for the entire 10-week season. So I think this week's going to be more fun because it's going to be a little bit more spaced out, I guess.
Yeah, it just made me nostalgic thinking you're saying that because we've done the weigh-ins for the Contender Series last year and stuff was always at the Palace Station.
Right.
But remember when it was at like the Homewood Suites when they were all stuck up in the COVID days?
Yeah.
We were going that little ass hotel lobby or whatever.
Yeah, that little tiny lobby area.
So ridiculous. Like, but I'm literally having like nostalgic feelings about it because it was
weird,
just so cozy, quaint, but just like awkward because it was like they'd have security outside waiting to let us in. I was like, what are you holding me back for? Like, there's nobody but you guys inside and like the hotel lobby person. And I was like
this hotel has been closed for months.
Yeah, it's just you renting out the whole damn hotel. Like, and me, like, can we just go inside and then walk in there and it's literally like 3 of us at max.
So funny. What a time, dude.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's funny. Sometimes when I meet people now, they're like, did you go to Abu Dhabi? Like, did you cover that? And I'm like, yeah, like all of it. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff. Just that whole time for that several years of everything that we dealt with, man. It was crazy.
Because even outside of where the little hotel lobby, they had the trailers for the COVID testing. So it was like a one-stop shop. It's like you go right in there, take your COVID testing, get your clear, and then like boom, then you get your wristband, then you have to go, then you're able to go inside and do whatever.
So weird.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
It feels like literally like a lifetime ago. It's just like, did this really happen? It's like I have these memories. It's crazy.
All right, so Media Day will be tomorrow. So if you're looking for Media Day or wondering why you didn't see any coverage of that, that's why.
Tomorrow.
It is tomorrow, so pay attention to that. I'm sure you'll be there streaming.
So many main events. So main cards. These 6-fight main cards fucking kill me.
So you got 12 people at Media Day?
Yeah.
12 people at Media Day.
I'm just like, why? Why?
I will not be there tomorrow. I'm actually traveling first thing in the morning. I'm traveling out to Philadelphia. We do have CFFC 132 on Friday night, so if you want to put that on your calendars for some top-level MMA action, my man Renato Moicano will be with me on the call, but we got some really good fights on the card. We got 2 title fights, and then we got a flyweight featured fight that looks like it should be really good as well. The whole card's pretty stacked. And then the next night, we'll actually be doing CFFC Muay Thai 2. That'll be the second event that we've done of that, and that'll be streaming live on our OnlyFans. And Renato Moicano will be with me for that one as well. So we got that. So I will not be there for the Media Day tomorrow. But
Ooh.
good. Yeah. Good fight in the good fight in the main event, right?
Main event's solid.
I think. I mean, first of all, Alex Perez, he's got the little monkey off his shoulder. You know what I mean? He's man, it was hard for him to come to these media days and for everything that he had to deal with and all the stuff, the crap that he's been given over the years. Good for him. And then Tatsuro Taira, I mean, that's a guy that, I mean, I think you and I have both been very high on.
Yeah.
In fact, kind of wondering why he really wasn't getting the card placement that we thought he deserved. Some of that we were told was due to market and time change and like wanting him to be in a more applicable time for the fans over in Japan where he's from. But, man, he's getting the main event shine here. And this is intriguing, right? Because to me, Tatsuro Taira looks like that guy to me. But this is a very, very real test, right? Like this is a huge move up, and if Tyra can win this, I mean he's just there now, right? He's now his name's in there with all the other names at the top of the division. Like there's no like sliding back. He's just in there, and you're starting to match him up with everybody.
Yep, 100%. Man, I feel bad for him. I mean, this kid's been at the Apex like most of his UFC fights are at the Apex. I'm like, poor guy. They're bringing him to the States for the Apex fights, and I'm just like, can we give the dude like an international card? Can we at least send him somewhere over there? But yeah, I mean, he's comfortable in the Apex. He's obviously doing great things, and this is a huge step, I think. And we've heard from plenty of people. I mean, like, as much as people want to shit on these Apex cards and these Fight Night cards, getting the opportunity to headline any event for the UFC is a huge, huge deal.
Yes,
Alex Perez is legit. Yeah, if he can get through Alex Perez, who is another guy that's very, very talented and has a lot of forward potential, I think that's huge for Tyra. I mean, I just wish, like, after a win like this, you got to start putting this guy on pay-per-views in front of people so you can really reach that market, because if you are really trying to break in and get more love from the Japanese market or any of the Asian market over there, you got to put them on a big event where people are paying attention. The hours for these events don't make any sense. Even the event that did switch around. At one point, we got emails saying it was going to be 1 o'clock
weird,
start.
Right?
Then they swap it back, and now it's back to a 4 o'clock start, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's just like, okay, that's a big jump.
Main card starts at 10 Eastern. I think that's one thing that we said. Look, these Apex cards, again, we're one of the few that likes it, but we've said a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's right down the street from our house, why we like it so much. But I would really like on these fight nights that aren't the big pay-per-views, like just make them earlier in the day so people don't have to have their Saturday nights.
Let's go. First fight 10 a.m. Let's just do it. So yeah, just knowing that I'm not going to get out of the Apex till like 11 o'clock or so, I'm just like, this sucks. This sucks.
Did you pick Tyra or Perez?
I did pick Tyra.
Yeah,
I picked Tyra.
I would too. I was just looking at the odds.
I forgot to tell you, I'm tied for tied for number one. Me and Bon are tied.
Let's go.
Yeah, last event that I was the only person that picked Imavov.
Really?
Yeah. And I think he would have won that regardless of whether that early stoppage or not. The way that the trajectory was going on the way that last round was going, he would have finished him.
I agree.
I mean, I
know everybody's
Cannonier
giving
all the credit, like he was standing up and he was right there and he was trying to engage, he was defending himself. I get it. That was an early stoppage. I just believe with more of those strikes coming the way that he was honing in there, he would have finished him.
And the way he was like kind of just, sliding around the cage, you know what I mean? Like it didn't look good. It did not look good.
It was scary. I mean, like he was turning his back and it was just like this, like a sloppy runaway, whatever, and he was just taking more damage. You just felt like it was like almost one of those like delayed knockouts or something where somebody's just their body's moving on its own and then eventually it catches up, and you just felt like he was moving, but it was like the trajectory was going and it was going a particular way. Like I didn't love the moment of the stoppage. Yeah.
I didn't love them. I'll be honest with you. Like I said, I was talking about this. I didn't love the moment of the stoppage.
It was bad.
But the spirit of the stoppage, I completely understood. You know what I mean? Like.
And imagine how we were watching it and seeing those things. You're like, holy shit! Like it's going that way. You're seeing Jared, but to be feet away from that, seeing that, and his job is to protect the fighter. It looked like it was going that way. I think he could admit that it was a bit early. But give it 30 more seconds, it probably would have been definitive. And I just wish we would have got those 30 seconds.
It's hard because it's this weird line, right? Because this is a combat sport. I mean, this is violence at its core, right? But like the decisions we're asking the referees to make are not like, hey man, let's watch that on replay. Was he inbounds or out of bounds? You know what I mean? Where was the ball? It's like you're trying to protect somebody from from dying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I know is I hate to say that, but it's the reality. And I think every now and then we have to get a reminder of that. Like, hey, man, we love the sport. We talk about the safety of it. We talk about the track record of it. We all believe that. You know what I mean? And we understand that everybody in here is signing up for what they signed up for.
Yep.
But don't forget at the end of the day what is actually at stake here. And maybe it was a little bit early, but and I see it a lot. And I know fighters will say, I'd rather you stop it late than stop me early. But it's like,
let me go out on my shield.
Yeah. Now you say that. Will you say that 10 years from now? You know what I mean? When things aren't working the right way and you knew it was happening because of that one night where, gosh, if they had just stepped in a couple punches earlier, maybe you'd have a few more years with your kids. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So it's like –
It's tough because you get both sides. I mean, especially when a guy fights maybe twice a year and you just gave him an L, so they're taking half their pay
half
home,
their paycheck. Don't get the bump on their next one up.
And you're stepping back
Yep.
in terms of where you are in the division. It's tough. I mean, you want to be happy that he was safe at the end of the fight. He wasn't on the ground. He wasn't face planting. He wasn't out. But at the same sense, I understand his upsetness for not being able to go out like that because of what was taken away from him. By that, it's tough because it's a no-win situation.
It is because now, like I'm thinking about, it's funny because as you're describing that, like I'm thinking about this, like what if somebody walked up to me during the main event of CFFC 132 on Friday night and says, "Hey, by the way, you're done right now, and we're only giving you half your pay." Yeah. And you're like, no, I can go. I can keep going. Like, no. Hey, this is for your own health and safety. You're looking a little tired out there. You maybe a little parched. Don't worry. Hey, trust me, bro. I'm doing this for you.
Doing this for you.
But yeah, you're only getting half your pay. So have a great weekend. You know what I mean?
It sucks. I definitely feel for Jared. I mean, and he's a guy that you want for what he's done in the sport. I mean, this is not some newbie that. An amateur where they're like, we need to protect the amateur. This is a vet that's done what he knows. He knows what's going on. He knows what he's able to do, and you feel like
because I never
you can't treat him at the same kid gloves as an amateur.
That is a really great point, to be honest. And it sounds weird, but it's a great point because I'll be honest with you. Like when I'm at Tough Enough or like when I was at Fight League Atlantic or CFFC, we do amateur fights too. I have zero problems with a quick trigger on an amateur, like
and they're
somebody
making
their debut.
They're usually pretty good about it. Like at least the ones I've attended Tough Enough. Though I think even when the last Tough Enough I went, there was a guy immediately when he was down and he was like, "Yes, he's gonna be knocked out in like 3 extra strikes." Yep. The ref stepped in. I was like, "Thank goodness."
Yeah, they
did the right thing.
They're not getting paid for this. They got to go back to a job on Monday. You know what I mean? They're just getting started. They might figure out that this is not for them. You know what I mean? So like, they don't got to put it. But you're right. When somebody has made that commitment, they've committed their whole life to something. They've worked their ass off to get all the way to the top level. It's still.
You almost want a little extra leeway.
It's kind of funny though. It's like we try like. Your brain doesn't know the difference, you know what I mean? Like it's still brain damage, but it's like it's just a hard spot,
especially when guys come to after getting knocked out and they're like, "What happened?" Because they don't remember, and you're like, "Oh shit, your brain was literally out at that point." But going back to it recently, while I brought it up, I was the only staffer that picked him, so that was one of the ones that came. I got back, and I think who was the other one I picked? There was another one I ended up getting back, but so I'm tied for first, baby.
Let's get that road show.
At one point, it was 6 down.
The road show franchise dominance continues.
Dude, it's funny because there was that year that Simon Head pulled it. When I like to call it the asterisk year because I think he did half of it or whatever.
Yeah, right. But he won by like percentage points or something. Isn't that how we did it?
But if we didn't do that, I would have already had I would already have 3 wins as opposed to 2. And I remember there was one point because I never bring it up because not that I'm sour, but I'm sour. Erickson at one point was talking to the group because they said something, and he's like, "Yeah, if we didn't do the whatever," he's like, "Kenny would already had his 3rd." I was like, "That's right." I was like, I'm glad you said it. I've always wanted to say it, but I don't want to feel like I'm just like bragging to the room.
Simon Head, right? You know what I mean? We don't want to take anything away from Simon Head. We love that guy.
But yeah, so I'm hoping, man. I want to be that first to get the that third win on there. First get the 2 win, and if I get the 3rd win, then it's just dynasty.
Dynasty at that point, bro. Dynasty. That you throw my win in there, bro, and then Roadshow
Dynasty.
Roadshow Dynasty is in there, man. I love it. Co-main event here, Ikram Aliskerov, who a lot of people are very high on. I happen to be as well. Minus 1,200 on the late replacement with Antonio Trocoli. I'm happy to see Timmy Kwamba getting some shine. Timmy Kwamba, I actually commented his a couple fights in Tough Enough, and then he came over to CFFC as well. So I commentated the end of his amateur career and the beginning of his professional career. So
I picked him.
He's looks so good. His hands are so good, man.
That's good.
I love seeing him, man.
I picked him on that one, so I'm hoping.
That's awesome. It's funny too because I mentioned that Chris Kalidas got his win this past week. The last fight that Chris Kalidas had before he stepped away, 2019. Was actually against Asu Almabayev, who's
on the card.
Who's on the card? Yeah. So I talked to him. I was like, Chris, you ever look back? I was like, so the dude you lost to in 2019 is on a 15-fight win streak right now, and in the UFC, undefeated in the UFC with a performance bonus. I'm like, does it make you feel a little bit better? He's like, I don't really look at things like that. I was like, oh, well, okay, I get it.
Well,
but
you could.
You should. I mean, look, you think about it. But he's on the card as well. So, overall, I was again, it's another one of those cards I think should, some fun matchups on there.
Some fun matchups. It's a big card, 13 fights, man.
Yeah, it's one of those cards that I just really would. Jimmy Flick versus Nate Maness could be fun. Joshua Van is on there against Tagir Ulanbekov.
Yeah.
Josh Quinlan is back. I mean, so look, it's a fun card.
Julia Pilastri. Yes. Love her.
I just wish this was happening earlier in the day.
So do I. But it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I mean, even the Shilan Durden Beckett, that's the first fight, too. I mean, dude, it's a good card.
Yep.
It's a good card. It's a very international heavy card.
Yeah, that could be crazy. Shilan Durden Beckett and Melchizedek.
That's the start. That fight right there can be nuts, and that's starting
nuts.
the night. That's starting the night off. It's going to be a good card. It's going to be a good card.
Chapo's back. Miles John. Look, it's Douglas Silva de Andrade, who's always Douglas Silva de Andrade is like always
he's
crazy
psycho.
Fights, man. He's
fucking psycho.
He's a little nutcase. So I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, listen. One more heartfelt apology to everybody over at Patreon. I appreciate Mark Fellows reaching out. It sounds like he was worried about me. I appreciate it.
He was like, yo, is JM okay or something like that?
I'm not gonna
lie. How
I
he phrased it.
I dealt with a little bit of, I don't want to say depression, but I was like really sad.
It happens.
So I was upset. It got to me. It mattered. But we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna get with the production with the whole team. We'll have a staff meeting. We'll take we'll get that email
rent out
someplace,
around.
Yeah. We'll have to find a hall big enough to keep. We don't normally have all the staff in one place. You know what I mean? Well,
I don't know when the last time we got them all together.
I guess we'll just have to bite the bullet on the travel costs, bringing everybody in from around the globe. But I mean, this is a.
Thank God for that Patreon. See what you guys help. See what you help.
We will figure it out. And so anyway, I appreciate everybody that was concerned. I do offer my apologies one last time. We do very much appreciate you for supporting us. After this week, it will not be a problem for a good 6 weeks. So we'll take care of that. International Fight Week. Olberg versus Hill. Okay. We'll see how that plays out. Saudi Arabia next week. That should be a hell of a card. We look forward to talking about that. We're not making the trip over there. But we'll certainly talk about it. And that will be an early morning card, which I'm looking forward to. Maybe we get together and
I'm down.
Watch a little bit. Have a little frosty beverage or two on a Saturday afternoon.
Ooh.
Well, you don't really do that much anymore.
I know, but I could watch you. I might have one. I mean, when the Hulk Hogan beer comes out, the real American beer, can you believe? I actually called, when I read that story from USA Today, said that Hulk Hogan, what's his name, Terry Bollea came out with a real American beer. And it was like, Terry Bollea, known as WW, whatever, Hulk Hogan has this real American beer. I was like, oh, we're going to try that. And it said that it was listed 4 states, and it said there were 13 other ones that were not listed yet. But it said, like, this place, Albertsons, yada, yada, and it said Total Wine & More. And I said, well, we got Total Wine & More here.
Yes, we do.
So I found one that's, like, not far, like, over in Henderson. I gave him a ring. I was like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but Hulk Hogan has a beer that's coming out soon. I was like, will you guys have it? And he's like, I know it's not on our current order list, but he's like, I do see that I am accepted to get it. So he's like, we will get it at some point. I was like, all right, well, I'll give you a call.
All right, brother.
I'll give you a call. I was like, I'll give you a call in 2 weeks. He's like, I think that sounds good.
All right.
So
we'll definitely.
So breaking news for those of you that were wondering if it's going to be in Nevada. It looks like it's going to be in Nevada,
and we will let you know how it is.
Yeah,
we'll have a full.
I'm sure it's
going
to be like a nice lager, like light little beer. I'm sure every European's gonna be like, oh yeah, it's going to be American piss beer. Like, well, you know what? We're here for that. We're here for it.
Sorry. All right, we'll definitely check that out. All right, listen, I got to go get packed. I'm going to fly out early tomorrow. Check out Code Coffee for Media Day coverage. And like I said, CFFC 132 Friday night. Me and Moicano, if you could put that on your calendar. If you want to check out some Muay Thai on Saturday as well. Maybe throw that on a second screen in the background while you're watching a little UFC action as well. We certainly appreciate it. But more than anything, of course, appreciate your patience with me and my schedule. And thanks for listening.